Hello and welcome, guys. I made a promise, and I'm back to fulfill that promise. We are here for League 2 with Esper Draw-Go, one of my favorite decks on the planet, with one of my favorite cards on the planet, Esper Charm. And if you are interested in the specific details about the deck in general and how it plays out, go ahead and check out the League previously that I did with Esper. I will leave a link to it in the description of the video here. So I'm not going to go over all of the ideology behind the deck and each individual card inclusion. I will, however, touch on a few small changes. So obviously we are switching back to Fatal Push from the two eliminates that were being tested before. I found that oftentimes the upside of having eliminate was not very present, and the downside of not having Fatal Push was extremely present. I found that in the aggressive matchups, for example, against some like aggro rush decks like Prowess or anything along that vein, Zoo style decks, which do pop up on occasion, Fatal Push makes all the difference in the world rather than having to tap 2 mana to cast and eliminate. There were several sequences where we could have had turn 1 Fatal Push, turn 2 Remand or Logic Knot, turn 3 Snap Fatal Push, and that would have been insane to have access to against the aggressive decks, but instead we had Eliminate just rotting in our hand, and that's something I'm trying to avoid. So we do see 2 copies of Fatal Push in the main board, and in addition, for those matchups where we really do need early removal spells, especially ones where Path to Exile is bad, but just in general, if we want to have more spot removal, we do have access to the 3rd Fatal Push in the sideboard. And then, I don't know if there are any other major changes to the main board. We do have 1 Mystic Sanctuary. I don't recall if I was playing that in the previous list, but we do have it here now. And yeah, we also have 1 final newcomer here. We now have a card called Cling to Dust. This is one that was brought up to me by somebody on the MTG Nexus Esper Draw-Go thread. And if you are not part of that thread and you are passionate about Esper Charm or Esper Draw-Go, then I would highly suggest you go and join that thread over there. I actually personally authored the primer. It hasn't been updated in a while, as there's not really a solid deck list, but regardless, if you are interested in Esper, then go ahead and check out the primer over there at MTG Nexus. And a particular user there by the name of Jizard, Jizard, suggested that I play Cling to Dust, and to be completely honest, this is not a card that was on my radar at all, because last time I played Esper, Cling to Dust didn't even exist as a card. It's a 1 mana instant that will exile a card from a graveyard. If that card was a creature card, you gain 3 life, and otherwise you would draw a card. And then the additional utility of this card is that it has an escape cost, 3 and a black, and exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. And it allows you to cast it from your graveyard. So sort of like a Think Twice. But of note, the Cling to Dust here will stay in your graveyard if you do escape it. So you could potentially do this multiple times. So obviously the idea here is to cycle Cling to Dust on a non-creature spell early, potentially in order to keep up with your cards and your land drops, and later on, when you're running out of things to do, or when you need to gain some life against an aggressive deck to try to stabilize, you can escape Cling to Dust from your graveyard to get that little bit of life buffer. I don't know, maybe this card is not better than Relic of Progenitus, we'll see. But we are playing 2 copies of Cling to Dust. We also have 1 copy of Wrath of God as a 3rd Wrath effect in the sideboard, in case we do play against those aggressive Zoo-style strategies, or, for example, humans. These are places where the Wrath effects become very pivotal. Also, mono-white taxes, or just death and taxes style decks, Wrath of God tends to be pretty good against those as well. So we do have 1 copy of Wrath of God, and everything else is pretty much the same. But anyways, I've talked way too long for a match that's going to go way too long. So let's go ahead and jump into the match. Also, you may have noticed that my headphones have changed. I have a improved recording setup here, and now hopefully the audio should be of an improved quality, and I don't know if any of you will even notice, but it is something small like that that I care about, and it does appear that we have our match. On the draw. Shame. Playing as Captain Obvious 343. There were many Captain Obviouses before this one, apparently. We have a Fatal Push. We have a Force of Negation plus blue card if our opponent is playing something uninteractive. I think we do have to keep this. We're lacking something like a Logic Knot or a Remand, but we'll see how it goes. Our opponent's Shocking and Esteem Vents. Potentially, we could be playing against Blue-Red Blitz. Could also be Storm. I don't know how I feel about the Storm matchup. Fatal Push is actually a pretty good one to have access to against Storm, if that's what we're playing against. See, a basic island with a white border. What kind of person would use a white bordered island? I really feel like this is a thing that a Storm player would do, but I could also see a Blue Moon player doing this to troll. They're like, haha, you can't have any lands, and the lands that I have that tap for blue, they're going to be able to tilt you not only by being usable under Blood Moon, but also because they're white bordered. People don't seem to like white borders all that much. I'm indifferent to them. There was a point in time where I really liked white borders, but I'm not a big fan of white borders these days because in Paper Magic, it's a little too easy to potentially cheat, perhaps, with white borders if you can see them as compared to the other black border cards you have. If all of your basic lands are white bordered and no other card in your deck is white bordered, that's kind of a little weird, to be honest. So the question is, do we hold up the Archmage's Charm here, or do we play Field of Ruin to get access to as many basics as we possibly can? That's kind of a difficult question. I think anything that we're likely to Archmage's Charm, we could hardcast Force Negation anyway, so I'm going to play out the field here and plan to fetch for basic island, Field of Ruin for basic plains, and then play island this upcoming turn, and still be able to hold up Cryptic and or Archmage's Charm. Our opponent seems to be playing something a bit controlling here, and that doesn't bother me at all as an Esper player. The control mirror match, as you might call it, is one of the best matchups for Esper generally, so we handily dealt with an opponent's Through the Breach blue-red deck on the last match of the previous league. The only game we lost was because I tapped a island instead of a Field of Ruin and ended up being 1 blue mana short. Otherwise, we would have gotten that match 2-0, I dare say. So I feel pretty confident in our abilities in a control mirror here. That said, we need to start hitting on some lands. We've been drawing a lot of good cards, not going to lie, but we have to not miss any land drops. So we're probably going to be casting Archmage's Charm on our opponent's instep here to draw 2 cards. Oh, we see a Ralgren Triome. That's interesting. So the blue, white, and red land. This could just be a splash for a little bit of a sideboard color here. I've seen Blue Moon decks that splash additional colors. We do have to go ahead and draw 2 here. We need to hit these land drops, and if our opponent interacts, that's like not really a problem. Alright, we have a land drop and a remand. All of those things are very nice to have access to. And I think we're probably going to be doing the same thing again this upcoming instep. We could save the path so we could path our own creature, and that's not terribly unreasonable. Nah, I don't think it's worth it. We only have 2 more basics to get anyways, if I'm not mistaken. Our opponent is getting back the off. What is going on? Alright. Not really worried about them having all the off in the world. That doesn't really bother me. We want to draw 2 cards again here. If we don't hit a land drop, we'll just discard a Fatal Push or something. It's like no big deal. Yeah, let's hold on to that one so we can cycle for a legitimate threat here. We'll pitch one of these pushes, I think. We want all of our blue cards, including the Supreme Verdict, as it pitches to force here, so I can't imagine needing too many copies of Fatal Push here. Alright, here we go. Here comes the Typhoon itself. Let's start going wild here. To be honest, we're mainly just doing this because we want to hit a land drop. The fact that our Shark dies to Volt is vaguely annoying, but also not really that problematic, as we're trying to hit land drops here as our priority number 1 anyway, so yeah, sure. This Bolt, like, we're not going to interact with it. We got a card and one of our opponent's card out of the deal, land. Okay, no land is kind of unfortunate. I still think that we can't afford to do anything here, depending on whether our opponent is playing something like Through the Breach or not, so Snap Caster Mage, you say. Okay, well, let's not deal with that one at present. And as much as I hate it, I think we're going to wait to Fatal Push this until they're in step. I would rather have access to a 3-drop plus remand plus a Force Negation backup, I think. That way they could, like, play a Blood Moon, Cryptic R, remand or whatever. I don't know. Actually, maybe that's not necessary. Maybe we can just go ahead and cast this push here. Let's let their opt resolve, so they have less information about it. If we push, we have access to Cryptic plus Charm, so if they cast a Blood Moon, they can have... I guess they could have double remand, and that would be a case where we might want access to multiple cards here. Let's just pass it back. We're at 18. There's no reason to get in a rush over one extra card here. And I'm still going to discard the path here. Like, this 2 damage is not going to end the game, so... Alright, now we'll throw the push. Being nice and patient. Okay, do we cast Esper Charm here? I kind of think that we do. We don't really care... Oh, rip. We don't really care if our opponent interacts with this Esper Charm, in all honesty. We're not at the stage of making our opponent discard yet, because I don't feel comfortable with our land situation yet. Only 5 lands is a small amount to me. Remand, sure. That's fine. We were going to have to power through these remands eventually anyway, so let's just pass it back. We'd really like to have hit land drops here, but that's okay. Another Snapcaster Mage. So that one, we don't have another removal spell for, so that's kind of annoying. But we can't really tap out here, so I guess we're just letting it go. Off. I kind of feel like we should go ahead and Esper Charm after they cast this off. They could remand it, and then I guess we just remand back. That seems kind of awful. If they remand it, then we just let it happen, and then we have remand plus Force Negation Pitching Verdict for our opponents this upcoming turn. I don't know, maybe not. Let's just, again, it's the same deal. We can take a little bit of damage. We're not under so much pressure that we have to deal with our snap on the opposing side of the battlefield as quickly as to just hard cast an Esper Charm during our own turn. That just seems a little hasty. Alright, now we'll go for the card draw again. Instant Speed Divination coming in clutch, as always. There we go, we hit a land drop, that's nice. Okay. Do we play the field? Or do we play the grave? The grave gets us access to Archmage's Charm plus Remand, or Cryptic plus Remand. Otherwise, we just have Remand and Force Negation. But Remand plus Force Negation, Hardcast, I guess that means that we wouldn't have an extra third backup counterspell, so we probably do want to Shock in the Watery Grave here. Maybe that's a little hasty, though. I'm just going to go ahead and play the Watery Grave, and we'll let it enter tap. Our opponent's got a little bit of an edge here, but Archmage's Charm to draw to. We don't care about that. We've been doing the same thing. So if they do it, they're just copying us at this point. Another Mystic Sanctuary. Okay, so they're going to get this Archmage's Charm back, I have to assume. Yep. I was thinking about Mystic Sanctuary a little bit when deciding whether or not to play this field, but I decided that there probably was no reason to have field up for specifically Mystic Sanctuary. Another Snapcaster Mage, you say? That's kind of a shame. I think we might be in the market for remanding a Lightning Bolt and then just hard casting Supreme Verdict this upcoming turn. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go for. Oh wait, what am I doing? I gotta let them cast the Lightning Bolt first. What's going on? Okay, there we go. Let's represent both path and push, I guess. Try to keep our life total a little higher. They're spell snaring our remand. Man, they really don't want this to happen. This remand. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. We'll trade a card for 3 points of life, I think. Oh, you know what? I just realized we actually can't cast the Supreme Verdict this upcoming turn without having a white source. That's pretty awkward. Yeah, we're just untapping here. Okay, let's play this field, I guess. And pass it back. Man, these Snapcasters are actually really annoying. I didn't realize that we couldn't just cast Supreme Verdict. We don't have a second Plains here either to get with the field, so we're in kind of bad shape here. I don't think we can let ourselves just die to a Bolt plus attack here. So let's tap draw, I guess. Archmage's Charm, you say. Let's perhaps Force a Negation this? Nah, maybe we remand our own Cryptic. If we remand the Charm and they recast it, they'll still have 3 mana up to hard cast their own Force or cast like a remand or something like that. Pretty annoying. What are we pitching to our Force Negation anyways? Awkward. Let's remand the charm, I guess. This way we might hit a white source off the top. Okay, they're fetching. Mystic Sanctuary. Getting back snare, okay. So I assume they're going to cantrip into the snare and then cast the snare. It would be funny if this was a third Snapcaster range. Whoa, they're remanding our remand. That's intriguing. Think we can force a negation of their charm here in response. I guess they could have another cryptic, but I don't really see a problem with this. It's also tap them out if they have a cryptic. We'll still die to lightning bolt if they have a 3 or 2 mana response here, but this way we get to keep our remand, and I think we probably need to get rid of the cryptic here. Charm digging too deep is probably going to be better than cryptic buying 1 card, I think. It also is more mana efficient to keep the charm, so. Of course, we may not top deck a white source here and may just die to the attack plus bolt anyways. For that reason, maybe we should have kept the other cryptic, but we'll see. Okay, the charm got exiled. Our remand comes back to hand. The tap draw goes through. A Shark Typhoon is fantastic, if I dare say so. Chase the Mind Sculptor. That one's kind of rough. At least our opponent can't counter our Shark token, so if they... I guess we'll at least get a Snapcaster out of the deal if we do just go for the block with the Shark Typhoon, and if they minus to bounce our Shark Typhoon token, that's not really the biggest deal. This Jace is kind of a problem. I don't know, maybe we should just be conceding here to save time. I don't really think so, though. I think we can fetch Shock down to 4 and Verdict. And then cycle a huge Shark Typhoon to try to kill their Jace. I doubt that they're going to plus it, so that we would be able to get a 5/5, but then we just lose to, like, Cryptic Command. I guess if they don't plus it, we could make a 3/3 and then revand like a Cryptic Command or something if they have that, so let's just hardcast this Supreme Verdict here, I guess, and pass it back. I don't know that this is particularly good, to be honest, but we'll see. Bolt us. Sure. Go to 1. Fine. They're getting a 3rd of Mystic Sanctuary here, almost assuredly. Yep. 4th Mystic Sanctuary, my bad. Okay. I mean, we'll counter the Bolt, I guess, after they draw into it with this Jace. And when they counter back, we'll concede the game. Alright. Interesting game there. Alright, so we're going to want Mystical Disputes, of course. We're going to want Aether Gust, perhaps, to deal with like Blood Moon and Theranos type threats, Ralzeric, for example. Cling to Dust and Relic of Progenitus seem good. I don't know about the 3rd push. It's probably better than a Path to Exile here, so at least make the 1-to-1 swap, and then we'll see if we want to cut down on these anymore. I think we actually do want to cut more Path to Exiles. Let's just cut all the Path to Exiles. Keeping push is like, alright. Okay, so Supreme Verdict's not particularly great here. We just tasted what it feels like to tap out for a Supreme Verdict and get punished for it, so not really interested in doing that again. Let's see, I guess we don't want the 3rd push. I mean, we need enough removal to deal with our opponent's Snapcaster Mages. We do have a Snare. A Snare and 3 push seems decent. Plus our own 2 snaps to block, although that's not really reliable. We can trim a couple Cryptics, as our opponent is likely to have things like Mystical Dispute in their own sideboard, so trim on that effect for sure. And one other card. I don't mind trimming this Jace, but having something to slam after setting up a big fight is pretty important. I could see trimming a land, perhaps. That's a little dangerous in a control matchup, though. I don't know, maybe not. Esper Charm is kind of weird against a Remand deck. It's not necessarily bad, but yeah, this is just kind of weird all around. Maybe we only want one Gust. I can see that. Gust is a little more conditional than Fatal Push, I think. We'll play first for sure. We have Shark Typhoon, a bunch of basic lands, Fatal Push. I mean, it's not the most amazing, but I mean, I don't see why we would throw it back. Probably cycling Shark Typhoon for either no token or for a 1/1, depending. We might need to find some interaction here, but let's lead off on this tapped Grave here. Alright. Let's play out an island, I suppose. Try to keep our island count high for future Mystic Sanctuary shenanigans and for casting Archmage's Charm down the line. Alright, opponent passing it back. I think we can wait one turn just to get a little bit of substance out of our Shark Typhoon here. I'll play a field so that we can activate it if our opponent just slams a Blood Moon on turn 3. I think if they do that, we'll probably be fine. I don't know if I would even go for the Plains, to be honest. I don't really see a reason to. Just a Snapcaster Mage? Okay, just going straight for a Bolt. That's fine. Our opponent probably doesn't have very many of those left in their main deck, to be honest. I would expect them to have slided a lot of Bolts out, but maybe not all of them, as a little bit of reach is good in this kind of matchup. Let's get our 1/1 token here. Our Pittance of a Clock, but at least it trades with a Vanillion Click or Brazen Borrower. Of course, we're plagued by more Fatal Pushes. Not really ideal. Play out this island, so we can, in fact, cast Cryptic if we decide that we want to. Swing for one because... sure. And pass it back. If they have a Click or a Borrower, a Snapcaster Mage, okay, that's fine. If they bolt the Shark, then I'm not really too torn up about that. I'm definitely not just going to fire off a Fatal Push immediately. There's no reason to. Sure. You wasted a Bolt to get our 1/1 off the battlefield. That feels like a pretty good exchange for me, not gonna lie. And we'll take 2 damage here just to ensure that our opponent can't just slam a Jace on us or something. I don't think that they would, even if we did tap 1 mana here, but... Pop. Get out of here, Snapcaster Mage. So we both threw a card away for absolutely no reason. Just keep playing out like this, I guess. No reason to show our opponent a second Field Ruin, I suppose. We probably wouldn't double activate here. It's kind of an odd game, not gonna lie. Our opponent doesn't know how unusual our hand is. And I would call this hand unusual. We gotta fix our mana here a little bit. Load of red, that's fine. Alright, do we want the island or the plains here? I think we want the plains just to be ultra safe. We can always get an island with our Field Ruin, Bolt us, whatever. All 3 Fatal Pushes, not really what I was looking for. You know what, it might be fine though. Snapcaster Mage. Okay, so we could definitely get Snap bolted out of the game here. I think now I'm willing to just go ahead and toss a push while our opponent has little to no interaction. So, just get that done and pass it back. We're still holding up our Cryptic here. Our opponent's just passing it back. They're missing land drops. Esper Charm is a good one. Pass it back. We can Esper Charm and then hard cast Force to defend it. Do we want to counter this? That's kind of crazy, right? Yeah, let's let this go. Hopefully our opponent will do the same to our Esper Charm. If they don't, then it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm gonna let this go and potentially shuffle it away with Field Ruin. We'll see. Let's go for the Charm to draw to. Again, no point in pressuring our opponent's hand here. They have plenty of cards. 4 cards is enough to do what they need to do when we have a dead Fatal Push in hand, so. And we also have no cheap interaction. We just have interaction that costs us a lot. But do we go ahead and fire off this field to get an island? I think we probably do. It's a little hasty, but... I mean, now is the best time. You can opt. That's totally fine with me. I'm gonna get that Archmage's Charm that they wanted so desperately. I mean, that's fine. Alright, let's go to our turn. Alright, let's pass it back. Now we can snap Esper Charm. I like that. Let's let this go. I think it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and get the snap out into play, so. The most expensive card that we can cast in our hand. I guess there's no point in forcing it through. Now we're just gonna try to draw some cards, I guess, with Archmage's Charm. For all our opponents know, for all our opponent knows, we could just be trying to slam a big Teferi or something this upcoming turn, so there's probably no way in the world that they should be just, like, hard countering our Archmage's Charm and stuff. Not to mention the fact that we do have access to Force Negation, but, I mean, look at our hand. This is, like, an insane hand to have access to, and now we have Cling to Dust, which might be quite a good card here. It does make our Logic Knots a little more awkward, but, you know, that's fine. What are they targeting? Archmage's Charm. Nah. Let's counter that and draw a card. And we still have Force Negation, Hard Cast, plus Archmage's Charm here, so not tapping out of too much. Cling to Dust already coming in clutch, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Alright, pass it back. Fourth Archmage's Charm. Admittedly, I'm completely, 100% totally happy to see that one in our hand here. Let's go ahead and throw it out there, just because otherwise we're doing nothing, and we want to keep hitting land drops. Like, this is all good and well. There we go. There's our land drops. We are doing just fine. And now, with our mana advantage, we might start throwing Esper Charms at our opponent's hand. We might just keep doing what we're doing. It depends on whatever we feel like. We could counter this. Mystical Dispute is just barely not pushing its weight here. Do we fight over this? Nah, let's let it go. We didn't fight over the other ones. Let's just let that go too. Okay, sure. Pass it back. We do have to discard something here. That's interesting. We could discard the Dispute. Discard the Push, I guess. Might come to regret it if our opponent has some kind of creature threat, but I think at this point we're prepared to counter whatever it is our opponent does, so. Mystic Sanctuary. Targeting Archmage's Charm. Do we flash back the thing here? We'll have access to 4 mana, so Cryptic plus Force. If our opponent tapped out for like a Jace, they have probably 1 piece of interaction. I think it's probably worth it. Alright, let's get rid of land, Snapcaster Maid, Shark Typhoon, and one of these Fatal Pushes. Done. I don't see a point in not doing this. Our opponent is thinking. I suppose we could actually Archmage's Charm and Mystical Dispute and Force Negation, so we have plenty of protection here, so going for the absolute value just seems pretty good to me. And let's let our opponent discard here. Blood Moon. They discarded a Blood Moon. Well, I mean, we do have literally all of our basic lands in play, so I guess for that reason we should probably be fetching these Flooded Strands, but I don't know. We'll see. We have 8 cards in hand now, so we probably just want to convert anything. Probably not disputing this, though. Awkward. Let's just let it go. We'll discard the land here, I think. Don't need to lose more life. We've got plenty of lands. Now we just need to figure out how we're getting ahead. Even more so than just the on-board advantage, because our opponent can catch up to this eventually. We all have all the cards in the world. So, I guess our way of getting ahead will involve drawing something like a Shark Typhoon or a Teferi or something like that we can hardcast and get into play. A Teferi would be, a 5-mana Teferi would probably be the best thing that we can get into play here. Relic. Sure. Our opponent can get rid of our Cling to Dust that has already drawn us 2 cards. That's fine. Let's fetch at least one of these things away. We'll leave the other fetch for Mystic Sanctuary purposes. Do we throw this Esper Charm into the dark? I think perhaps we do. Otherwise, we may not get a window to cast it, so let's just start clearing the window here. Clearing the path. If our opponent tries to counter our Esper Charm, we can remand our own Esper Charm to get max value. So there's that. It's pretty cool. I suppose technically we shouldn't have fetched before casting Esper Charm, but it doesn't make any realistic difference, in my opinion. I wonder if our opponent is choosing to discard cards here, or if they're trying to decide if they're going to respond. Yeah, they're discarding 2 cards here. That's pretty okay with me. Jace and a Bolt, okay. Colonnade is a way to start pulling ahead a little bit, so that's kind of cool. They didn't even tap Relic. Lazy. I guess they're trying to be mindful of their clock. That's fine with me. Let's just untap here. Another land is not unwelcome. I'm going to start casting this Cling to Dust soon enough, I dare say. Get rid of one of these Flooded Strands. We could actually start hitting things like Snapcaster Mage just to gain some life. Might be a waste, though. Yeah, let's draw one more card here, I think. Get that Bolt out of here. This is another way to protect ourselves from shenanigans. Gotta exile one more. We got Archmage's Charm. Now let's exile the counterspell. Esper Charm's the more unique effect here, so. We are making our logic not significantly worse. Although, admittedly, our logic now would already be very bad, considering our opponent's Relic is in play, but still. Mystic Sanctuary, targeting the same very Lightning Bolt. Okay. Well, you got us. We traded a bunch of cards in our graveyard for a life from our opponent. I mean, that's fine, I guess. Fetch land, okay. They're making us exile a card. We'll exile the, maybe we just exile the Cling here. I think it's done all the job that it can. Our Esper Charm is a unique effect that we'll want access to if we can Snapcaster or Sanctuary it back. Cling has already kind of done its work, especially with an active Relic. I don't think Cling is going to do a whole lot more this game. Okay, that's fine. Our opponent discarded one more card. 5 is not a super healthy life total to be at, but we'll make do. Let's get rid of the Esper Charm here, and try to keep a little bit of a padding between ourselves and an opponent's Snapcaster Mage. And now let's go ahead and... We need to start pulling ahead or they're just going to draw bolts, so let's try to draw some cards. Our opponents do nothing. We can do something. Shark Typhoon is a nice one. I think we're just cycling that. It's kind of weak to our opponent's Cryptic Command, but let's do it. Suppose we want to hold up Remand here. Although, that would mean making a 3/3 that just dies to a Bolt. Our opponents use a lot of their Bolts already. But then we give our opponent a window to cast Snapcaster Mage as well, so let's fetch down to 4, as it's not functionally different than 5 here. We'll Sanctuary back this Archmage's Charm and see if our opponent does anything with a Relic. Okay, sure. And let's see. Now we can do it for 4. I think that's good enough for me. Not super interested in hard casting here. Play on our turns instead of our opponents. If we tap out during our own turn, that'll be kind of a problem. They're bolting us down to 1. Do we care about that? We could hard cast something here. Now let's just let it happen. I don't care about being at 1 life. That's fine with me. We have a Archmage's Charm on top, so it's very Major Zalfir, the 5-mana creature Teferi. That's an interesting one. I guess we're remanding that? Like, okay. Spell Snare. Do we dare force this? I think we can. Do we care? I don't know that we care that much. Well, yeah, let's... I think we can force this. We need to do something. We're gonna lose the time here. Let's get this Mystical Dispute out of here. It's not doing anything. Top Relic. You got it. Alright, so the Teferi back in the hand. We draw the Archmage's Charm off the top. We make a little bit of a threat here. We got Tar Pit lying in the weights. I don't think we're attacking with Colonnade just yet. We know that we have to deal with our opponent's Teferi here. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana, not counting the fetch land. So, let's see, we need 10 mana to be able to cast all of the cards in our hand. So let's drop this Relic into play. That's just untap. Watery Grave. Tapped. Oh, it does it automatically. Again, no need to get frisky with the shark here. Let's just attack. What has our opponent got here? Cryptic Command to bounce draw. Let's counter that. Remand targeting their Cryptic Command. Let's say no to that one too. I guess we Cryptic Command. Tapping these. Counter, draw, or Cryptic. Nah. Let's just make the whole stack go away here. We're gonna let our opponent resolve their 5-mana Teferi, but to be honest, I don't really care. We might lose to a Bolt here, I guess. Our opponent has 1 card left, and we know exactly what it is, so let's pop our Relic here. Now we have 5-mana Teferi. That's interesting. I mean, we have lethal on board against our opponent's Teferi, considering neither of these things can be blocked, so... we can't play around a Cryptic, but I don't think I want to, so... Actually, we don't have to activate Tar Pit here. We can just attack with the 2 flyers. Sure. Cryptic. That's fine. So now we'll play 5-mana Teferi and tuck their Teferi. Like this. Teferi's tucking Teferis. Whew! Remand? Alright, well, I guess we lose the game. Well, that happened. Maybe we didn't need to activate the Colonnade there, I don't know. Anyways, that was a very interesting match. I feel like there were mistakes made on our side of the table. And, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you thought of the match in the comments. Of course, as of right now, just thinking back on it, I can't really say anything in particular that I feel like I should have done differently, but I'm sure in watching this back, I'll see all the mistakes and just cringe at myself. But regardless, it was still a fun match. Hopefully you agree, and if you do agree, then leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. This long video doesn't need to be any longer than it is now. So, this is Red Face Menace, signing off.